Well, China has vehemently rejected a report that was released by the United Nations Human Rights Office on serious human rights violations in the northwestern Xinjiang region. Now, the report included allegations of people being strapped by the hands and feet to a tiger chair and beaten, women raped, and others held in extended solitary confinement. The report was highly critical of the Chinese government's anti-extremism doctrine, which underpins the crackdown. It said the laws and regulations were vague and ill-defined. Now, for the first time on Indian television, we're getting you what's the plight of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang province. Take a look at this report and then we play out that big interview.
For Human Rights. A long-awaited report by the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights into what China refers to as the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region has concluded that serious human rights violations against the Uyghur and other predominantly Muslim communities have been committed. The report published said that allegations of patterns of torture or ill treatment, including forced medical treatment and adverse conditions of detention, are as credible as are the allegations of individual incidents of sexual and gender-based violence. Meanwhile, China has vehemently rejected a report released by the UNHRC on serious human rights violations in the northwestern Xinjiang region. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a deafening silence across the globe when it comes to the plight of Uyghur Muslims in China. Well, it has been largely documented about the serious human rights violations that have been committed. But what's really happening in China, in Xinjiang province? Joining us in the studio is Ms. Nurgul Shawut. She's the executive chairperson of the Uyghur Freedom Forum. Let me straight away ask you this, Ms. Shawut, with regards to the plight of Uyghur Muslims and the deafening silence. Not much has ever been spoken. We'll also come to the details of the UNHRC report in a short while from now. But straight away, with regards to the plight, and why is it that the world never likes to speak about it?
I think there's two aspects of the whole scenario. One is world looking at the most powerful country, they're committing crime against humanity. And whoever needs to speak up, it's not just one country or one individual's voice. The voice has to be collective voice. The world in this regard unable to find their collective voice or unable to come together to raising their voice up against such strong tyranny. And secondly, our investigation and the proof of such the heinous and the crime against humanity is ongoing 5 years length of crime. But during the 5 years, we have done so much work, right, and yet so much work needs to be done too. So there's accountability, reliability, transparency, all above. That's what we're trying to achieve. We constantly working towards trying to prove ourselves. This is what's happening to Uyghur people in occupied Xinjiang.
Ms. Shawut, if I can also take our viewers through some of the details that have been put out in the UNHRC report, and I would also like you to help our viewers understand the plight and get into details of it. The observations that have been made in the UNHRC report with regards to crime against humanity, anti-extremism, arbitrary detention, forced labor, forced medication and sexual abuse. Would it be possible for you to tell our viewers about specific instances that your organization has documented in terms of what we've been calling serious human rights violations that have been committed by the Chinese administration?
In terms of our organization has been closely working with our community members and our different organizations right across the globe, and are trying to record, document, along with some of the databases, some of the well-established organizations. One thing what we come across at the moment is quite large numbers of our the community members is watching their family members, their elderly parents or vulnerable, very sick relatives just dying off under the Chinese zero COVID policy. And now, as we speak, as of today, they have been staying in 88 days of the lockdown. And I don't understand how on earth any country could come up with this best solution for controlling COVID, the infection, by locking up people with not enough food, not enough resource for up to that long.
Ms. Saud, you've also very recently pointed out saying that the entire East Turkestan has now been converted into a jail. Could you elaborate a little bit, because what happens is that there is a dark side to it. Not much media reporting ever takes place. The world really does not really know the atrocities that have been committed. Can you take our viewers through at least some of those instances that you may have come across as to how exactly is the Chinese authorities committing those crimes in those areas which there is no access to? There is no access to any such information.
China, it's what they're doing is, the one is a digital governing system. It's highly monitored, and as well as using AI technology to control people's movement. So that's why when I refer to whole occupied Xinjiang as open air, a prison, that's what I'm referring to. Doesn't matter you're staying in your own house or in your own neighborhood, your every movement, every the word and every conversation is all highly monitored and being watched. So that's why it's created this called white terror amongst the people. No one trusted each other. No one actually really believed or openly, honestly express what they need and what their concerns. And so when I refer to open air prison, that's what I'm referring to. And there's a very little or no information around people's terror in outside the world. However, I must say our people is very clever, smart. Time to time, they always come up with what we call a digital uprising, digital awareness. They create very little mimic, very little clips, let outside the world know what's happening. And people like myself and many campaigners and many activists, we can pick on those mimics very quickly. And we know, we go through analysis, we collect those data, we know exactly what's happening. And so we translate them, put it into a certain statement, and we pretty much spreading the words, spreading the message to international community and some, Western, the medias, and wherever we can find it a space and a time.